Peta today is a bustling bazaar, but centuries ago it was where the Dutch lived. In the Dutch era, Peta was known as Oudestad or Old Town, which is where the Dutch had their villas. But while the Dutchness of Peta was gradually lost, the architecture yet echoes some of the most beautiful buildings of the 17th century. Like this, the residence of the Dutch governor, which is now the Dutch Period Museum, and Wolvendolt Dutch Reformed Church, built in 1757. A big thank you to our partners on our show who are truly beyond compare. Skills for Inclusive Growth and Australian Aid, Srilanka Life, CDB and the Morning Newspaper. Thank you. Now if you like Kaleidoscope, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn.
Did you know you can open a digital fixed deposit with just 5,000 rupees? Open a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit today. CDB, your friend.
In a quick look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot, for the first time in a year, Sri Lanka's inflation dropped to 66% in October from September's 69.8%. A Verite research survey reveals that the government of Sri Lanka's public approval rating is at a consistent 10%, improved from the 3% rating from June this year. Corporate earnings of Sri Lanka's listed companies are set to see earnings drop by 20 to 25% in 2023 due to taxes and reduced consumption. The IMF cuts the economic growth forecast for Asia to 4% this year. The world's largest economy for 2022 is the USA, with a GDP of $20.49 trillion US. China comes in second with $13.4 trillion and Japan at third with $4.97 trillion. Sri Lankan racer Yeman David becomes the first Sri Lankan to win a medal at the World Karting Championship, taking the global number 2 spot. He will be on our show next week. Permacrisis, a word that describes living through a period of war, inflation and political instability, has been chosen as the Collins Dictionary word for the year. And to celebrate Halloween, NASA captures an image of the sun dressed up as a jack-o'-lantern.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka is well into its post-pandemic economic phase, and there is little argument that international trade and investment is vital in keeping our economy afloat. But how have we been faring? Anushka Vijayasinghe, economist and co-founder of the Centre for a Smart Future, popped into the studio for a chat. So Anushka, you've opined that one of the reasons for Sri Lanka's current crisis is because of the country's poor performance on international trade and investment. What is your rationale?
A big part of the current crisis is that we don't have sufficient foreign reserves. We are not earning enough dollars to have paid off our debts, to import what we need to import, have a cushion during times of balance of payments crisis. And that challenge has been there for a while because we've simply not been earning enough from our exports and not been getting enough foreign direct investment. And this is an issue that I think we have ignored a little bit in this current crisis. We've been focusing on what has happened over the last 2 to 3 years, but actually this issue of not generating enough export earnings and becoming a more inward-looking economy, less export-oriented, more inward-looking, more domestic market-oriented, has been an issue for a while. And one interesting metric is our debt service to exports ratio. Our debt service to exports ratio in the 1990s used to be around 15%, and now that has gone up to 30-40%.
So how do you think Sri Lanka navigated the pandemic and post-pandemic trade and investment milieu?
So Sri Lanka took steps that most other countries also did at the start of the pandemic, which was to take certain import restrictive measures in order to preserve foreign currency because the generators of foreign currency were collapsing, exports, remittances, tourism. So it wasn't unusual, some of the balance of payments measures that we took. But the difference was other countries began to reverse those when the pandemic began to abate, and they instituted mechanisms that made sure those protectionist measures don't get institutionalized and embedded. Sri Lanka made those measures de facto industrial policy. They became part of the policy toolkit. We didn't revisit those, and now we have become an extremely protectionist economy.
Looking at evolving trade trends, where do you think our growth sectors lie in the short to medium term?
Definitely some of the existing sectors that we are in, whether it's in processed food and beverage, in spices, particularly spice extracts, flavors, essences, in the IT BPM sector, and of course in apparels and tire. All of these sectors continue to hold promise, but each of those are changing quite rapidly. Our markets are changing. For example, in the EU, there's a heightened sense of compliance and sustainability, transparency in value chains, which Sri Lankan exporters need to be mindful of, particularly in food, beverage, apparel sectors. In IT BPM, we're facing a lot of competition from the region, and a lot of our talent now is migrating. So that's another challenge. But fundamentally, I believe those sectors still hold a lot of promise, and there's a reason why investors, foreign investors who came to Sri Lanka many years ago in these sectors have continued to stay.
And now for a look at our markets. News from the Colombo stock market. Higher local interest rates and worries of the new regime impacting company profits led to a further drop in the all share price index by 2.2% this week, with the average daily turnover levels remaining an unimpressive 2.2 billion rupees. Heavy buying of crude oil futures and options for a second week running after OPEC Plus cut its production target more than expected pushed up WTI oil to the $89.5 per barrel level. Due to worldwide recession worries, gold prices moved down to $1,632 per ounce this week. In a big win for inclusivity, Disney Studios introduces a plus-size ballerina in its newest short film, Reflect. In this film, that's a part of Disney's short-circuit experimental film series, Bianca is a ballerina who struggles with body image. And if you want to read 4 times faster, join speed reading with Sanjeev, and you can do just that. Let us know and we'll gift you a program to follow from anywhere in the world. Up next is S4IG Let's Talk, and we take a look at chefs with skill. Showing off talent in the kitchen has now taken on celebrity status. Everyone wants to be a master chef, and why not? Sri Lanka especially has such an abundance and a range of cuisine that cooking in Sri Lanka can easily push one up to star level. And that's what Supreme Chef has done. Taken the recipe of enthusiasm, talent, ability and a zest for the kitchen, put it into a pot and created a cohort of chefs all ready to fill a dire need that the hospitality industry is currently facing. An initiative of Skills for Inclusive Growth, which works on an inclusive model for creating and upskilling professional cookery skills, the professional cookery model is unique and it gives our young people an excuse to go into the kitchen. With me today is Regional Program Coordinator for the North Central Province for Skills for Inclusive Growth, Gamini Nandakumara. Gamini, welcome. Now you've just completed season 2 of Supreme Chef Youth Edition. What were the new things that you saw? What was so exciting about the competition?
Supreme Chef was an experiment to bring together reality television, skills competition and a career pathway through a curriculum to international standards. And also there is an increased enthusiasm to explore their skills in the cookery industry.
A highlight of Supreme Chef is the prominence given by contestants to locally sourced ingredients in a bid to uplift the creative standards of making authentic Sri Lankan dishes. A quick look at the show's finale will show you the innovative dishes that contestants dreamed up. Mouth-watering dishes sourced from our very own island nation. So why did you hone in on cookery and upping cookery skills, and actually who takes part in Supreme Chef?
When we began the SPIG program in 2017, we were well placed to co-create a national cookery competition which allows 18 to 35-year-old cookery trainee to compete for a national title telecast island-wide.
Taking part in the competition were Sri Lankan students from public and private training institutes. The first 2 seasons saw participants from Polonnaruwa, Batticaloa, Ampara and the Trincomalee districts. The program showcases how vocational education can support career development in the tourism and hospitality sector, giving women, persons with disabilities and youth massive opportunities. The winner of 2019 Season 1 was awarded a month-long training session with Australian culinary star Peta at his restaurant in Queensland. So who trains them and what have been your success stories?
The trainee is trained by the chef of Chef Guild of Lanka. At the same time, some of the celebrity chefs are coming from abroad to train the students.
The Chefs Guild of Lanka has developed a professional cookery course curriculum with S4IG's technical assistance, integrating industry expertise into training. This offers practical industry-based training and therefore aims to create a set of industry-conscious professionals in the field. Among the celebrity chefs on the Supreme Chef platform for Season 2 were Australian award-winning restaurateur Jimmy Shue and MasterChef Australia Season 11 contestant Diane D. Williams. What is your ultimate objective of this professional cookery model?
We would like to see the training materials and curriculum developed by SPIG being used by government and public training providers.
S4IG and Supreme Chef aim to establish public-private linkages and an inclusive model for creating and upskilling professional cookery skills at selected training centres in the country, and also to promote districts as top destinations for culinary arts. It's all about upskilling, giving opportunities and making inclusivity a part of the culinary recipe, as food truly makes the world go round. Tomorrow is the day. 50 cyclists riding 600 kilometers in 24 hours. Race the Pearl is about riding from the northernmost point of Sri Lanka, Point Pedro, to the southernmost tip, Dondra Head, and is known as the most epic, exciting, exhilarating ultra-endurance race in the Indian Ocean. It's also on the world's cycling map as a qualifier for a race across America. Yasas Hevage is on Life in 60 today. He's a finisher and organizer of Race the Pearl, and he's with me today. So what's so exciting, Yasas, about Race the Pearl?
This race is special because it says Race the Pearl, and we are the pearl of the Indian Ocean. We've been cycling around Sri Lanka for a decade, doing a lot of things. But finally, this makes it all come together, where we ride a bike from top of this island to the bottom. It's unbelievable. Coast to coast, sunrise to, sunrise. So it's got so much of all what we believe, what this country has as potential. The lifestyle, the smiles of people, the wildlife. It's like a cocktail what we carry in this bike. So it'll inspire a lot of people that anyone can do things that they never thought is possible. And I guess this race is going to bring the world to Sri Lanka. So this is the race.
And so, good luck to our cyclists. Until next Friday, give yourself a break and get some R&R.